Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Can we please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome back to a new school year. Hopefully this school year will be a productive and enriching school year for everyone. With that said, we'll open the meeting up to public comment. Where's Mary Ann? Nobody for public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment. And we'll move into our consent items. It's going to be from EA1 to C.2.
I think it should be D.
EA1.
D1. Oh, we didn't catch that.
D and E.
Yeah.
If you want, you can pull any item out. If you need any clarification, or you want to have a discussion on anything, you can also pull those out and talk about them. Okay, can I have a motion to accept our consent? Motion by Heather, second by
I thought you said.
Sorry. Jen. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I don't know where we're looking at. So nobody wants to pull anything out? All right. We have consent items D8.1 to C.2. We have a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. Just under personnel, I want to just recognize Tulani for her years of service here at the Highland Central School District. What can I say? I mean, I wish you luck in your future endeavors. While you were here, I think you touched many students' lives and even staff. So I want to thank you for the time you spent here with the Highland Central School District, and congratulations in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Okay. That covered a lot of the agenda. Okay, under curriculum and instruction, our principal's monthly report. Elementary school.
Well, sometimes he mixes it up. So
It's a new school year, not yet.
Good evening, everyone. The only thing that I need to add to my board report was just the fact that we did a bus evac drill, and it went extremely smooth. And thank you to Kathy and all of her people to make it run as smooth as it did. That was really awesome. And I also want to give a shout out to the people that organized for Highland Fire Department to come over. There was a ton of volunteers that I didn't foresee that many, but we had a tremendous amount of volunteers, so that was really kind of cool. The kids were super excited to see firefighters there, so that helped a little bit. And so I think the whole process went pretty quick. And the police department was there as well to kind of lend a hand as well. So it was really cool to see the whole other side of the community help out, which always happens, but awesome. So questions?
Too early.
So, all right.
You're good.
All right.
Andy?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's already been a very busy month, which is great. So just a few updates to my report. First, modified sports have begun, just like varsity and JV. We started the first day of school So we have a lot of students participating in all the different sports that are going on: cross country, soccer, football, volleyball. Am I saying anything?
Golf.
Oh, and golf, of course. So yeah, we do have students playing varsity golf, which is awesome. So that's underway. The students are excited. I don't think there's been any competitions yet, but they are coming very soon. I think football has the first game, which is either tomorrow or Friday. Also, it's not on this. It got moved from last week. Our PTA meeting is going to be the 23rd, which is this coming Monday. It was supposed to be earlier, but there was a lot going on last week, so we decided to push it off a week just to get our feet under us. So I wanted to point that out. And then lastly, just a big thank you to a lot of people for getting the building ready for the first day of school. There was so much going on up until like the last minute, and it really, the school looks, I know a lot of you have seen it. If you haven't, it looks amazing. That's a credit to Pete and his team, Rich and his team, John and his team in the cafeteria, who all did amazing work, along with the vendors that we used for the capital project, who became like our buddies over the summer. Just we want to thank all of them for everything they did. Literally everything we asked for and requested was done. I don't think anything was overlooked. So thank you for that. Our teachers are appreciative. The students are appreciative. So that is the end of my report. Does anybody have any questions?
Is the cafeteria fully functional?
Yeah, yes. I think you're still waiting on a couple serving lines, right?
It's just the serving line in October.
But there's still but we have things in place to operate, so everything's functioning. The registers are working. Everything, yeah, they're cranking out. Nothing missed a beat.
Great. Cool.
Yeah. Are there any other questions?
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Kevin?
Good evening, all. So our new student board rep for the year was not able to make it this evening. She wasn't feeling well. Her name is Kai Roper, and you'll meet her next month for the October meeting. So I'll just give a couple of her updates that she was going to present and a couple of items that I had. Just to follow with Andy and Ian, I want to thank Kathy, Pete, Rich, and John for getting the school year together, for everyone that was in this building. It was very much torn apart throughout the summer, and Pete, your crew did a phenomenal job getting everything in order. We really appreciate that, and Kathy, Rich, and John, your department as well, getting everything together. So thank you. School pictures took place on September 11th. Everything went nice and smooth. Fall sports are in full spring. I'm sure Coach Alfonso will give an update on that about the team's successes. Late buses started yesterday on the 16th, so that's moving along nicely so far. Wilklow Farm has, after 45 years, I believe, closed in-person business for the public. So what they have decided to do to keep the tradition alive with students getting apples after school, they're kindly providing us with a couple of bushels a day. So Fred and Sharon come on over, and they just truck over a couple of bushels, and we grab them at the front, and students get them at dismissal time as they're going out to buses. And then we bring it to the athletes, the students staying at the school in the back. And they're very appreciative. In fact, today, Sharon called me at the last minute and said, "I'm sorry, but the person who was supposed to get everything ready was not able to, but they'll be there tomorrow." So at dismissal, when the students were leaving, they all said, "Well, where's the apples?" So they got very used to them in the short amount of time that they've been here. So we're very appreciative to the Wilklow family for getting that for us. Open house will take place tomorrow from 6 to 8. Parents and families will follow their child's schedule, periods 1 through 8 in 12-minute increments. Last year, a partnership that we started, and I want to credit Mr. Opitz for getting this together. We worked with Ulster County, the Ulster County Prevention Council through the Division of Family Services to provide students resources and support who may be in need that are going through substance abuse and mental health issues as well. It's a free service. It meets once a week for the entire school year, and included with the partnership is an integration program on substance abuse and social and emotional learning that will take place in the health classes with the health teacher up here. And that will take place in the spring. So that's something that we're continuing this year as well. And lastly, that we're in the beginning stages of the celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. Jess Murray from BOCES will be posting more specific information online. However, from readings and research of notable individuals of Hispanic heritage to a museum trip that a student in Miss Saylor's CIA class is coordinating with Miss Saylor for part of her capstone project. Those are some of the types of things that the high school is doing to recognize and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And those are my updates for tonight. Any questions at all?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
After 64 years of the principal's office in the high school, did you save a piece of that wood paneling to hang on the wall? No?
No
It
sentimental
fell
value
apart as
there.
they took it down.
Hey, and finally, you don't have to
Mr. Miller,
wear
what is it?
and now you don't have to wear penny loafers anymore.
This is true. This is very true. Mr. Miller oversaw everything going right into the dumpster immediately. So,
Good
yes,
job.
everything was.
It finally happened after 64 years. We got rid of that wood paneling in the principal's and assistant principal's office.
Pretty sure from when Mr. Miller's father was principal on that. I think his initials were
Probably,
carved into
yeah.
the wood paneling. So, yes. Thank you
Okay.
all.
Any questions? Thank you.
Overall, I just wanted to recognize the district and the teachers and all the staff. I know September 11th is a big date, and really appreciate the recognition from the district. I know my kids came home with age-appropriate, learning on it, and I think that's really important to keep that tradition going and recognizing the importance of the day. So just wanted to recognize everybody who took the time to do something special and the moment of silence that was done.
Thank you. Okay, our directors' reports. I believe we have all our directors here this evening. I just want to start off and kind of piggyback what Andy had said. We had a tough spring last year and an even tougher summer months with the capital project going on and the reconstruction of the middle school from that tragedy that happened back in March. Shout outs go to Pete Miller and his staff and all the time they put in to keep things moving back in the spring and through the summer months. To John, our director of food service, to Rich, director of technology, to Kathy, our transportation director, to Frank Alfonso, our director of athletics. You guys came together. I'm sure our superintendent, back when the initial fire happened, just didn't know, what direction to go. But everybody stepped up and made it happen. I thank the high school principalship for welcoming the middle school students and staff to the building. I'm sure it wasn't pleasant for some people, but you made it happen. And that's what Highland's all about, that collective work that everybody puts forward to make things happen. So shout outs to every one of our directors for a phenomenal job through the spring and into the summer. I know having a capital project going on, plus finishing up the middle school reconstruction, it's a big undertaking. So I think the board, the community is proud of what we have out there, and especially if they get to look sometime in October at the new athletic facility out there in the back of the high school. I think they're going to be proud of everything we've done. So congratulations to all of you. That being said, does anybody have any questions for our directors? I guess they did a fantastic job. Okay, moving on. Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Pupil Personnel, Dr. Boyd.
All right. So we are off to a great opening. Obviously, a little bit better than last year. We didn't have to take a snow day on our second day this year, so that was helpful for our students. We do a lot of work starting really in January of last year, really prepping for all of our programs this year. So again, just echoing a lot of thank you tonight to our staff for welcoming our students, having everything ready to go. Our special education services start day one. Our related services are just started yesterday, and they create those schedules. with the students in mind and our least disruptions as possible for all their schedules. So it takes a lot of coordination, but appreciate everyone's hard work in doing that. We are still getting some transfers. The first few weeks can be really busy. I want to thank Julie Miller, our new registrar. She hit the ground running in August when a very busy time. And has a lot of movement and has been on top of everything with coordinating with Kathy with transportation and all the building principals and our clerical staff to get these students into classes as quickly as possible. Because the coordination of trying to get records from other school districts, sometimes they're out of state, sometimes it's just they're getting their own record requests. So just the coordination with that, I really want to thank her and highlight everybody the work that they do to get students in as quickly as possible and set up for success. And lastly, last year we made a shift at our elementary school with our curriculum nights. So we split them into the 3 nights. And in the past, we have had our AIS providers on a separate night provide some guidance. And what we found was that, it was a lot of nights for parents all in a short amount of time. So we made a change to put our AIS providers there so they can provide information there along with the classroom teachers. And I think it has helped parents to get all information at one time. So it's not as hectic trying to get to nights. So we continued that this year. So again, thank you to all our staff and all of our open houses, the one that have happened and haven't happened so far, to get the information out to our families.
Any questions for Dr. Boyd? All right, thank you. Mr. Zimmer.
Good evening. I have one item to share with you about opening days. On September 3rd and 4th, we kicked off the school year with 2 superintendent's conference days. First, Superintendent Freer gave a welcome address to the entire district. The morning session included important updates from our legal counsel, along with completion of 3 out of the 7 required training courses that we all need to take. Following the session, most of the teachers were able to return to their respective buildings to prepare their classrooms for opening day. However, some teachers remained behind to attend specialized meetings, such as new teacher mentor meet and greet, and sessions for club advisors and coaches regarding proper fundraising procedures. The following day, on September 4th, on Wednesday, faculty and staff participated in various meetings tailored to their roles and responsibilities. Topics included PBIS, direct, student medical plan, reviewing student medical plans, department meetings, advanced placement meetings, and kindergarten orientation. Administration made a concerted effort to maximize classroom setup time for teachers, especially given the extensive construction across all 3 buildings over the summer. Overall, the 2 opening days provided faculty and staff with essential updates, training, and collaboration opportunities, hopefully to set the stage for a successful and well-prepared start to the new school year.
Thank you. Any questions for Bill?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our superintendent.
Okay, so the curriculum nights and open house nights, they've kind of been mentioned a little bit, but they are underway. Grades K through 3 are completed. They happened over the last few days. 4 and 5 will be on Monday, September 23rd. Middle school is tomorrow night, and high school is Thursday night, as Kevin said. I also want to echo a thanks to Kathy and her team and the community of the fire department and the police for helping with our annual bus drills. So it's been a while since we met. So last time I met, I told you I was going to see Assemblyman Jacobson the next evening. So I did attend that, and I gave a position statement on the foundation aid formula. As you know, or some of the folks in the audience might not know, the Rockefeller Institute is running a study on what the foundation formula does for New York State schools. Unfortunately, the Rockefeller Center left out the Hudson Valley and did not schedule a meeting anywhere in the Hudson Valley. So I will thank Assemblyman Jacobson. His office put on a session in Newburgh and invited folks from up and down the Hudson River to come together and give position statements that they will then take back to the Rockefeller Institute. So I included my statement in a board report a couple of weeks ago. So please take a look at that, and it actually was a good evening. The district leadership team will be attending NISCUS this Sunday through Tuesday. We'll be attending sessions on the Blue Ribbon Commission, and looking at the new graduation measures that are part of what they're calling Portrait of a Graduate. There's more information to come on that, but I do caution people think that the Regents exams are no longer necessary. That is not the case yet. That is something that the commission is working on for the future. So it will be multiple iterations of this before we get to a spot where they're substituting other measures for the Regents exam. So that's a little bit of a misnomer, the way that that was portrayed in the press. So, but we'll be getting more information on that at this session. The Rockefeller Institute will be at this convention, so we will make sure that we stop by and make sure that the Hudson Valley's voice is heard. And I will be bringing I actually think I still have it. It's in I wore this suit coat that night, so I still have it here. That I will be bringing with me on Monday. New guidance on APPR regulations, so those are in the process of being updated, and we have 7 years to get a new plan in place for that, so we'll be going to a session on that. Also on school safety. I know Bill was gonna go to a session on the pre-K program with State Ed, and so it looks like it will be a good event over the Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and we'll bring back information for everyone from those sessions. I did send out a robo email to the parents and community. We are in the process of redoing our website, so there's like parallel websites right now going on. We're trying to merge the old one over to a new format that is more user-friendly and also meets the regulations of translation services and things of that nature. So we will send out one more reminder, but we've gotten quite a bit of feedback about what people want on the website and what they use it for. So we will make sure that those pieces that are most important to our community are working functionally in this new website. The new website will probably roll out, our estimated time is mid-year. So I'm a little excited about that because I won't have to, when I make those phone calls at 5 o'clock in the morning, I can do it on the website. The website will update, the Facebook will update, and the robo email and phone call will all go out at the same time. So right now, the way you've seen it is there's always a lag between my call and when it goes on the website, because my call is one thing, somebody else does the website, somebody else does the Facebook page. So there's time that happens, and some people, they go to the phone call, some people turn their phones off and they don't want the phone call, they just want to wake up and look at the website. So we want to make sure that that's all coordinated, and that's what the new website will do. And that's all I have, and I'm at the end of my book. So I need a new one. I'll get one at Niscus this week. Any questions?
Any questions? All good. Okay. Under Board of Education, new business. I think we had a very slight discussion at our last meeting for start time for Board of Ed meetings. Has anybody given any thought to that? If you'd like to start our board meetings a little earlier than 7 o'clock? Is something you would consider?
My only concern is if we do need to have exec before, I don't think I can get here by 5. So it would mean moving exec to the back end, maybe. I don't know. That's just my concern. But that's only me. If it's only me, then I can juggle around and figure it out.
I would have the same issue.
Could you be here by 5:30? We could save any exec that needed to be done prior to the board meeting. We could do that 5:30 to 6, and then if we had a bigger something, we could do that at the tail end. Sort of like when we were doing negotiations, people were able to make it by 5:30. That's an option.
Like I said, I'm 1 out of 7, so if I'm the only one, I will juggle around my schedule and figure it out.
Right.
It's just a matter.
It doesn't happen that often, but sometimes we need that front end exec for meeting purposes, but it doesn't happen that often.
Mm-hmm.
So we can always have the back end if we have any other discussion.
I'm
So,
flexible,
are
so
you-
I work from home, so I can get here.
Me too.
Staff?
Leader of the pack will start next month also, and that was also one of the concerns that has come up, especially for if you bring a kindergartner up to the podium, if they could get home a little earlier, so that would be a nice thing for them.
6 p.m. start? We'll start it for our October 1st meeting. Okay.
If we find that it doesn't work, then we can always switch that. Vote on that. Vote on
I
that.
don't think we need to vote on that.
All
No.
right.
As long as we get it out there
Yeah,
on our
I will take
website
care of it on the
and-
website,
Yeah.
etc. Yes.
He was okay the last, when we talked about it last time. I think we'll be
Struggle sometimes to get by staff.
All right, I mean, we can always revert back if it becomes an issue. All right, does anybody have any new business at this point? Okay, under old business, cell phone policy discussion. Guys, it's going to be real soon. I mean, the governor is going to come down with some, she's had some roundtable discussions, I believe, over the summer in multiple locations, gathered a lot of information. I think from what I heard, it was going to be sometime before the end of September that she'd be able to come out with some guidelines of what she's looking for as far as the cell phones.
There is a member of her staff that is on the NISCUS agenda for early next week. Whether or not that's going to be the topic, I'm not sure, but I do believe that that will be the topic that we will be raising as superintendents across the state.
Right. We started this conversation probably back in January. I know back in March, Mike Lucazzi has put out a student use of personal technology updated draft policy. I think he did it on March 19th. I don't know if Jen got a copy of that, but I'll make sure we get one to you. And then we had a survey go out to staff earlier on. We had a follow-up survey done by our high school principal. We had a report from Dr. Path and his group. So we had that discussion. We kind of put it on the back burner, start of the summer months. But I think now we have to resurrect it. And I think we have to set a timeline that we're going to be able to put this all together, get feedback from all the stakeholders, and put it in play. And I like to look at possibly, right after the holidays, January 1st, to implement a revised cell phone policy. I know there's pros and cons. I'll speak out right now, and I'll probably allow everybody else to do the same. I'm not in favor of total restriction of a cell phone in the school setting. My mind covers a lot of different avenues. I mean, I am involved in, first responder service, and I hate to say it, I think the shooting the active shooter that was down in Georgia a couple weeks ago, if you heard some of the 911 calls, you heard students calling 911 or parents calling 911 saying, my son or daughter just heard gunshots in the school. Those things tie up the response of first responders. And when you have 450 students in one particular building and something goes wrong and everybody's on their phone, you'll have parents, and I could be one of them, but you'll have parents here before first responders. You'll have parents jamming up the parking lot, the entrances to the buildings, before first responders show up. That's one piece of it. And maybe I'm old school, but I know when I went to school and you became ill in the classroom, you were sent to the nurse's office and they called home. I don't think we need to have a student call home sick in a classroom. I think they should be in the nurse's office. So all those little bits and pieces. As far as utilizing the cell phone for the educational piece of it, that could be left up to staff. I mean, that policy is somewhat in effect right now, but don't forget, this district, during COVID, purchased Chromebooks for pretty much the entire district outside of kindergarten, I believe, in first grade.
They got iPads.
They got iPads. So we provided some form of technology for every one of our students. And you know, you hear the excuse from some teachers and staff members that say, how come you didn't bring your Chromebook in? Well, battery was dead. Well, do you ever forget to charge your cell phone? I don't think so. Well, it's the same thing. But so I think our discussion really has to stem around how we want to implement the restrictions on cell phone use. And I said from the beginning, I'm not in favor of total restrictions on the cell phone, but there's got to be some give and take. We're here as the Board of Education to provide the best possible education for our students as a community. And to have some distractions is not what we're here to provide. I mean, we're here to provide the best education, not allow distractions. And some students will flourish using the technology from their cell phone, but others are distracted, and that distraction can be passed down to fellow students in the classroom. So I said enough. Anybody want to chime in and give me your opinion of cell phone policy? I know the three surrounding governors from Connecticut, Jersey, and obviously New York are all in conversation to put in place restrictions on cell phones. I believe recently a Dutchess County school just put a total ban on, was it Beacon?
Kingston.
Kingston, but I think somebody on that side of the river did also just recently. Wappingers did. That was large school districts. So I really think that our timeline should be January 1 to implement. So I think we're going to have this discussion. We probably have 5 meetings until then, so it's not a lot. Anyone?
I think it's important to, I don't want to say wait, but I'm curious to see what the guidance or the mandate or the request is going to be from the governor's office to the schools, because I think it could go either way, to being as restrictive to not being as restrictive. But I think that needs to guide us to ensure that whatever the recommendation is, that we're then choosing a recommendation that's right for our school district and our students within the school district. I am not in favor of full restriction of cell phones at all. And I have very strong opinions about even some of the things that we've talked about in the past in restricting certain things. So I would be curious to see what the governor has to say in terms of what guidance and mandate that will come down.
Agreed.
As a parent, could I hear the opinions? I haven't heard the opinions before. It's my first meeting, sorry. Could you share some of
No, we can bring that up in public comment.
Oh, sorry.
We can have that discussion.
My first meeting,
Not a
sorry.
problem. Not a problem. I agree with you. And I think the governors are going to come out with generalizations, not specifics. I think they're going to leave it up because they don't want to be the ones that are going to make the final say. They're going to leave it up to the local boards to make the decisions.
I would agree. I would say that if we were going to hear something from the governor, we would have heard something more concise. I do think that the listening tour has been a long tour. She's been around the state a lot, and I think the media is having more of a say of what's going on than we're getting from Albany. Hopefully we get something soon, but I did read something that she indicated that schools shouldn't wait necessarily for her to make a decision, that they could. So I do think it's going to be more local control rather than something mandated.
And I don't
from the
think
state.
I know we can't wait,
Yeah.
but I'm curious with all the buzz about it, right? And I do think you're right. I think the media is portraying it to be more than what actually the governors are going to provide us in guidance. So again, I think it's important for us as a school district, as a board, to do what is best for our school community and our students.
I don't disagree.
I guess I'll just,
Go ahead.
I guess I'll just weigh in and probably be the bad guy here, but I'm not against full restriction, to be honest with you. Looking at some of the articles that I've read, some of the public opinions that have come out of school districts that do have full restrictions, I think that there's a lot of good. I think a lot of the data is showing what cell phones are doing, how much instruction time it's taking away when we're trying to gain every minute back that we can. I read an article, and it was actually, social media post, but a parent up in Kingston who is also a staff member, so a teacher, and she said, after COVID, her whole point was that the fulfillment of the job has become less and less and less every year. There's less interactions with students, there's less, they're always on their phones, there's a lot more drive toward the cell phone. And she had posted really just a week after they had gone back to school and had said that just the small things in her classroom, right? Everybody came in, nobody had devices, everybody said good morning, everybody said hello. After the bell rang, they weren't worried about checking to see who had written to them what happened. They actually said goodbye, have a good day. She said, I used to say goodbye to my class and get no response because they're busy checking their phones. So I think there's a lot that we don't see that I do see when I take it away from my daughter personally, that is to benefit kids, really. And the focus there, to me, I know it's a convenience. I mean, trust me, and not to get her in trouble, but I get a text from my daughter every now and then during the day, and it's stuff that can wait, and I think it's just when you put it in a restrictive mode like that, you got to make the accommodations that if something were to happen, they can get a hold of them and use them. But, on a day-to-day, I'll be the bad guy. I'm not against full restriction. Just my opinion.
Jen or Tom, you have any
I feel like we should weigh in. I am not opposed to full restriction. I agree with Janine and Alan. I've seen anecdotally, I can only go with anecdotally, my own children at home, the classroom benefits for her with the cell phone. And I'm, with more research and understanding more, I'd like to look into both sides of it. And I think we should start with setting policies and example, because I know myself as an adult, the first thing I do is take my cell phone out and put it here. And, should we try to focus on what proper cell phone etiquette is? It kind of exploded having these mobile devices. I didn't have a mobile phone until after college. I didn't grow up with it. I didn't know how to navigate this as a 10, 11, 12, 15-year-old. So I feel like it's a delicate balance of restricting so that we don't interrupt the classroom time, but how do we help mold and train and teach proper etiquette? Because we have adults who don't have proper cell phone etiquette because they didn't have it in the classroom. So it's tough. I have not done enough official research, so I'm just speaking as a parent and someone who has observed her children anecdotally, but I welcome the discussion and how we should best move forward for our district.
I'm not in favor of full restriction either. Sad to say, we already have a cell phone policy in place, and the failure to be able to enforce it and utilize it properly falls on staff members, and they have to be maybe they have to be educated a little bit more on it, or do your job. Just said to them that way, and abide by the cell phone policy. Save a lot of problems. We've wasted a lot of time talking about this topic since, I guess, last January, correct?
Yeah, well, our policy strictly speaks to the use of personal technology. It's all cumbersome. It's not restricted just to cell phones. So we don't have a specific cell phone policy in the district. We never really established
We're
that.
zeroing in on that.
I think each individual building kind of put a policy in place, not that it came from the board, but within their own building, they put procedures in place for cell phone use. But yeah, we don't have a per se cell phone policy in the district.
That's correct. We have a, like you said, a personal use. We keep saying cell phone, right?
Right.
But I fear whatever new policy that we try to put in place is going to have a lot of the same detractors, within our 3 buildings. So I don't know how we come to that and how well it's going to be enforced.
Well, once a policy is in place, staff has to follow the policy. I mean, that's why it's established and that's why it has to be
Perfect world,
enforced.
yes.
Can it be interpretation? I think the policy would have to be a little clean cut so there is no room for how you interpret it. But then again, it's something that the board can go back and say, hey, we have a policy in place. You have to enforce it. That's the way it is. You know, it's not, well, my classroom, I'm not going to enforce it, but somebody else's classroom, we are going to enforce it. It's either enforce it or you don't.
Right. And when I say staff, I'm talking also administrators too.
Absolutely.
Backing up what
Absolutely.
Staff members bring to you. So,
being we're at the end of our board agenda and the next item is going to be public comment, I will allow to open up public comment. I know we have staff members here. We have some community members. I'll open it up to public comment to continue the discussion of cell phones. So you can go right ahead and ask your question.
Sure, yeah, and a few other questions came up.
yeah.
My name is Aga, A-G-A. Last name, maybe also L-O-R-E-N-Z. I have two kids in the elementary school right now, so we're getting close to an age where we're actually thinking, you know, they're obviously, their biggest dream is to have an iPad or a phone, because we're obviously always on our phones, right? But I think that we're also that generation of parents that has clear access to the research. So that's why I was wondering if you guys have a plan to review research, what type of research and data will be reviewed before the decision is made, and also how parents will be involved, because it's a very personal thing. And so a lot of people have strong opinions about it, and parents do, right? There are parents that have kids that don't yet have devices and are trying to figure out how long to wait. And, you know, most of the parents I know, again, anecdotally, want to wait as long as possible. That total ban would really help us make that decision, because there's no right decision. It's either everybody or nobody. That's how it works. You're either going to single your kid out, that's not going to be, you know, that's not going to have the device, or it's everybody, and then that's okay, because if nobody else has a phone, then that's fine, right? It's much different if this happens at school, because obviously this is where everybody hangs out, and it's much different if it happens in home. Just anecdotal perspective, but I think that it will be nice for us parents to know or feel that we're involved in that process of making that decision, because a lot of parents know that the policy is coming. And then second, it would be great if we had a discussion based on data and research versus anecdotal.
Just some input through that. When this first came through discussion with the board back in, I say it's January, we requested a survey out to staff members, both the middle school and the high school, and it came back. There was, I'm going to say, a half a dozen questions asked, and the percentages that came back were more on the side of the staff members saying that it was a distraction to the educational process for the most part. There was a subsequent survey taken just at the high school level, one-on-one basically with the principals and staff members, and that came back a little different than the initial survey. We also had Dr. Path, who was our school psychologist, that came through with some staff members, and they collaborated and gave us a presentation. We are still going to have that happen. We're going to have all the stakeholders involved in the discussion. At some point in time, I think it's probably the best to have parents involved in conversation regarding the cell phone use. So spread the word, because I've always said, if you look around, here's our first school year kickoff meeting, and 90% of those in attendance are staff members, not parents. So we always welcome parents, because the feedback that we can have with the community and the stakeholders is valuable to how we make our decisions.
So are you planning to send a message to parents that there's going to be a dedicated meeting on that issue? Because that issue, you know, reading a Board of Education is kind of a very generic term to a lot of parents. But I feel like if there was a message that, okay, this meeting is going to be about cell phone use, many more parents would actually come.
I would think our cell phone policy initially was on every one of our agendas. We took it off for a time being during the summer months, but it will be on our agenda now until we come to a consensus of how we're going to proceed with a policy. So it will be on each and every agenda. So it'll be on our October 1st meeting agenda. With our public comment sections, the front end is for agenda items only, and the back end could be for general comments. That's how we handle our public comment. We have two, front end and back end. How's the board feel about having parents involved in the input and not the decision making, but input?
I think it's important. I think it's important for them to voice their opinion about how they feel with regards to their individual students and what their individual student has experienced or felt in and out of the classroom with the use of the cell phone. And again, many of us on this board are parents and have students in the school district as well. So that's where you're getting difference of opinion, as we are parents as well. But I think it's important to hear not just those of us that are parents on the Board of Education, but also those are parents that are out in the community that have students in the various 3 schools that we have students, part of the district.
So I knew this was coming. That's why we talked about 6 p.m. start times.
Yes. Nice big crowd.
Okay, anyone else? Staff members, you're welcome. This is, go ahead.
I have a middle schooler myself, not in Highland, but as my family has decided not to get a cell phone, and he's the only kid, apparently, I'm sure there's others. I hear that he's the only kid every day, every single day, that he doesn't have a cell phone. So as a parent, that would be a huge help for me to know that social pressure, because he doesn't even know what he wants it for. I mean, he's 12, but then as a principal, who's doing a lot of the discipline, it's one of the biggest problems that we have. All the issues that are happening between students are starting on social media or on a text message or a group chat.
Or they end up there.
Yeah, so
they're somewhere involved.
So it's really hard to differentiate what's happening in school and what's happening out of school. It's hard to take care of, problems that are just in school, because none of them are just in school anymore.
I think, just to echo what Sarah said, we would obviously respect whatever the board and the parents came up with and follow that. It's not an issue. But I think that the data forget cell phones, just students, cell phones lead to social media. That's they're one and the same. That's why kids want them. That's why they use them, and you can include text messaging in that. The data for what social media does to adolescent children is horrible. It's astronomically horrible. And we see that. We see students suffering. They don't know, or the parents may not know that the effects of that are from things like bullying or whatever through social media, but we see that every day. And not that taking it away in school would fix it, because students would still have them, but
they'd be able to focus more on.
And I think a lot of social media platforms right now are starting to investigate and looking to have some restrictions for children.
They're
I think
not,
someone
but
just
the
recently.
government will have to force them. So I think that if we send a signal, school district to school district, to the government that we're on board and we have a problem with our kids on social media, this will send a signal to our representatives that will have to force those companies. They will never do anything about it themselves. So.
My 8th grader has full restriction, and there's been a huge change in her behavior. Like, don't get me wrong, for I'm all for as soon as bell whistles, she goes to practice, all that, and that's great, because then she can call me, Dad, I'm about to practice ending early today, for example. So there's a huge change. That concern over the snap score and the stress of not getting back to that snap score, all those and again, maybe it's a middle school thing, and I haven't experienced high school yet, but the middle school thing was, both her mother and I were like, wow, this is, she had a epic meltdown. I'm not gonna have my phone. That first day was pretty, I was like, early,
They're
no one
in
has it.
Worcester.
Like, it wasn't like we took it away. So it was like everybody didn't have it. So there was a meltdown in the building. But I think overall, I think it's better. It's been better, yeah. So I just know that from my own personal experience. Again, I'm at the elementary school. It's a little bit different. So, I mean, I don't see it as, it's not really a thing. Middle school and high school, these guys got to deal with it. So, but just personal level, huge change.
Have to go back to flip phones.
Imagine that, like that old school texting, like if we should go back to that, to T9, like you have to come, oh my God. Blow their minds, they would never be able to handle it.
It would. I love that.
That would be awesome.
Perfect. Still cold.
The old Blackberries.
Yes, the buttons are this big.
I was the only kid that did not have a pager in high school. I will tell you that. Now I'm dating myself.
Now you're sounding like my daughter. My daughter didn't get a cell phone until she was in 10th grade. And she's now a college senior. And she's connected to it all the time now. But we were the bad parents that didn't give her one until 10th grade. And it was only because the school that she was going to did not have enough technology for everyone to access what they needed to access. And the teachers were using the platforms on the cell phone, whether it was Kahoot or a vocabulary game that they could log in with the password from the school. And we felt we needed to get her one because she didn't have access to other devices. But it wasn't until she was in 10th grade. And I still think she was a productive middle schooler without the cell phone.
That's where I think we're in a completely different position, right? We have
Yeah.
one-to-one. It's
Yeah.
not that we're harming our kids in terms of not having access and coming out of high school and going to college and have never used a computer or electronic before, and now they're going into college with everybody that has.
I do think it's the social media and text messaging that causes the biggest disruption and causes the biggest issues for administration. When I was the elementary principal, we didn't have the issue because elementary students just left them in their backpacks if they had them at all.
Right.
But we did have kids, I mean, as young as kindergarten, had a cell phone in their backpacks. And that was so that when they went to the daycare center, if they needed to get in touch with their parent, or they went with one parent and the other parent. So there are reasons I think that families would still want their children to have them, I think controlled in a better sense.
Okay, anybody else? All right, we'll continue the cell phone discussion. Possibly by our October 1st meeting, the governor will put something out there and give us some kind of direction. I don't think it's going to be anything major. I think it's going to be left up to the local boards to make those decisions. And I'm curious really of some of these other, especially Wappingers being a large district, how their discussion
I will see him on Sunday,
Is
so
there
I
any
will.
way to reach out to some of the
I'll
supervisors
see.
and just get feedback?
I'll see both him and the Kingston
And
superintendent.
even from
on
the,
Sunday.
like in those districts, the middle school and high
Yeah.
school principals, just to understand kind
Sure.
of their experience.
And how they derive to the point of they derived at. Like what, you know what I mean?
Okay, I think we'll close public comment. Anything under miscellaneous for the good and welfare of the district?
Yeah.
Okay, ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Jen, second by Tom. All those in favor? Opposed?